Flair Pilates beginners. Let's get started with the feet planted right underneath you, standing up nice and tall. We want to find breadth across those collarbones, nice and open through your chest. We want to feel like the space between each vertebra is growing taller and taller. If we had a string coming out the top of our head, it would grow our neck longer. It would pull right up out of our pelvis. With our knees, we want to make sure the kneecaps are pulling up and your quads are nice and contracted and the arches of your feet are lifted. Okay, so let's take a big breath in and then we're going to roll down. See if we can keep lifted through the arches of your feet as you curve the spine, bend the knees. We're going all the way to the floor. Breath in here. Exhale, we pull the tummy to the spine. We roll up all the way and take another big breath in. And then let's roll down. Breath in at the floor and exhale, rolling up. Let's go one more time. Nice big breath in. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Make sure the knees are going over your toes, not towards each other. Pull in that tummy to support your spine all the way up. We're going to float our arms out to the side. We want to reach energy between those fingertips and continue to feel like your spine is growing longer as you side bend. Breathe out on the way up. Breathe in as we tilt and out on the way up. A few things to think about here. Just keep even pressure on those feet. Keep the shoulders down. Keep the tummy drawing into the spine and keeping your pelvic floor lightly lifted. With each tilt, we want to reach just a little bit further, warming up the body. Separating those ribs, get a really nice stretch right between those ribs. Let's make this one the last one to each side. And then we'll come all the way up through center, turning the palms to face the ceiling. We're going to bend those knees. Keep the heels on the floor and we want the knees to go over the toes. Palms to face the ceiling, double twist. Back through center as you breathe in. Gentle double twist. Back through center as you breathe in. So you see that the bottom half of my body is staying relatively stable. I'm just trying to find that twist through my waist. Watch those knees. We don't want them falling towards each other. They're going straight over the toes. Nice one. So let's do one more to each side, unwinding the spine, and then coming back to center. From here, we'll turn the palms to face the floor. We want nice straight legs, pull those kneecaps up. We don't want to jam our legs into hyperextension, but we want to make sure our quads are contracted and those kneecaps are lifted. Shoulders down, take the body weight forward onto the balls of your feet, and we'll see if we can rise up and lightly tap the heels on the floor. Rise up. Lightly tap those heels on the floor. So if you keep your weight forward, you're going to find it a lot easier to maintain your balance. If you rock your weight back each time onto those heels, you're going to find it a little bit more challenging. Core nice and strong. Think about drawing those ribs together. Let's find a point here where we're semi-comfortable. So maybe not all the way up, maybe about halfway down. Just test your balance, make sure you're good, and then we'll start to circle the arms. See how it challenges our balance, just small circles. If you're feeling adventurous, you can get a little bit bigger with each circle, otherwise just keeping it small. And let's pause, back the other way. So the idea is that we're not letting our heels get any closer to the floor, they're just staying the same. Maybe a little bit bigger circles if that makes you feel good today. And then let's pause, find your balance, lower down those heels, give your legs a bit of a shake. We're going to come all the way down to the mat now, and we're going to see if we can do that without using our hands. So if you turn to face one side of your mat, we're going to put one foot behind the other, taking your arms out in front, and just being careful. You know that your hands are there if you need them, but we're going to lean forward and just see if we can sit all the way down carefully onto the mat. So from here, we're just going to see if we can sit up nice and tall, and we're going to take the feet as far away from us as we can. If you wriggle forward, sort of to the top little bit of your mat, that will mean we have enough space to roll down. So depending how tight your lower back is and how your hamstrings are, you need to take your feet far enough away so that you can get a nice straight back here. Hands behind the knees, behind the thighs. You're going to give yourself a little bit of a pull on the backs of your thighs, and I want you to feel what that does to your shoulder blades and to your core and to your collarbones. What we want it to do is engage our core even more. We want it to set our collarbones so they're nice and broad, and we want to set our shoulder blades down towards our back pockets. From here, like you're being poked in the belly button with a pencil or something, you're going to round that lower back and then sitting nice and tall. So as you breathe out, you're going to round that lower back and then sit nice and tall. And what we're doing here is called a C curve. So C curve from the shoulder down to the sit bones. But you can see I'm not leaning back with my shoulders. They mostly stay right where I set them on top of those sit bones. It's my lower back that's getting a bit of mobility work here. And I'm using my abdominals to control this. Keep pulling on the backs of your legs, and that will make everything just feel a little bit better, like you're working properly. And let's roll down a little bit further. So when we get to here, we can let our arms go, and we're just going to control the roll down. We're not going very far, just to there, and then we're going to roll back up and sit tall. Round that lower back, roll down, keep it rounded, and sitting tall. Again, round that lower back, rolling back, keep those collarbones open. Round, sit tall. Let's do a few more, just like that. Round, roll back, round, sit tall. Make this next one the last one. Good. Now we're going to do one more, so I lied to you already, and we're going to hold here. Nice flat abs. Think about pulling your tummy in towards your spine. Keeping the feet heavy, we're going to take the arms up and bring them forward. Up and bring them forward. Nice. Really try to maintain that nice rounded feeling of the back. Belly button to your spine. Scoop the abdominals. 4, 3, 2, keep those shoulders down, and 1. Good. All right, if you think you can, we're going to roll all the way down to the mat, but if you think you need a little bit of help, just place your hands behind you and support your body on the way down. We'll leave the feet where they are just for the moment. All the way down, place your hands by your side. Once we're there, we can bring those legs back in and flat on the mat. So, finding our neutral spine on the mat here, we want a small gap underneath our lower back. If you make a diamond shape with those fingers, you want to lie that flat on top of your pelvis, and that diamond should be flat to the floor. So if you feel like your diamond is tipping back towards you, you're probably imprinting your spine into the mat. If it's the other way, you're probably overarching your back a little bit. So you can just do a few rocks back and forth to find your neutral, which is smack bang in the middle of those two extremes. Hands will be by our side once you've found your neutral. Your hips, knees, and ankles need to be hip width apart. That's where your hip joints are, not on the outsides of your legs. Then you want to melt your shoulders down into the floor, drawing those ribs together. We're pretty much ready to move now, as long as we're not holding tension in the neck or jaw. So we're going to start with a few more of those tilts, just rocking back and forward. Don't be afraid of your full range. Allow the head just to nod back and forth. And then next time you're imprinting your spine, we're going to roll up into a bridge. Breathe in here, and then we're going to roll back down to neutral, making sure we go for that small gap there. Rolling up, squeeze your glutes all the way to the top. Breathing in, rolling down. Breath in, and up we go again, pressing those feet down into the floor, squeezing your glutes. We don't want the knees to fall open here. Keep them in line with your hips, and rolling down. And we'll do a few more. The idea is to isolate each vertebra, so lowering one bone at a time all the way down to the mat, back to neutral. Keep those glutes squeezing the whole time. You can only release the glute squeeze when we get back down to the mat here. Let's just do one more. And rolling down back to neutral. Good. Switching now to our abdominals. We'll take the hands behind the head. We're going to lightly support the head, and you're not going to ever feel like you're pulling or yanking on that neck, okay? This is a focus in our abdominals. So we take a nice big breath in, and we lift the head and chest. And we're just going to pause here for a second. We want to be joining the bottom of the ribs to the top of the pelvis. Rather than yanking our head forward, always think about that. And then we release down to the mat. So breath in, exhale, lift, inhale, down, exhale, lift, inhale, down. Each time you lift, I want you to think of shortening that distance that I just spoke about there. I want you to think of pulling your tummy down to the floor and keeping your elbows wide. We're just lightly supporting the head. And we also want to think about leaving the pelvis nice and stable. It's not moving around. Let's do about 6 more. Each time you lift, pulling that tummy down. We're keeping the pelvic floor lightly lifted. 2, we've got 1 more to go. And 1 we're going to hold here. We're going to see if we can gently twist towards the camera, coming back to center, and gently twist towards the other side. So I'm trying my hardest to stay lifted. Trying not to release down to the mat between each one. Keeping the head supported. And you can see that everything from the waist down is mostly stable. And let's finish with this one here, back to center, and we'll release down to the mat. Taking your hands by your side, remember to melt those shoulders back down into the floor. Nice and strong in our pelvis. We're going to lift one knee into tabletop. So we just want to make sure the knee is directly on top of the hip and the shin is parallel to the floor. So I have a right angle at my knee and a right angle at my hip. I'm going to do some basic toe taps here. So the only joint in my body that is moving is my right hip joint. I want everything else to stay nice and still. Keeping your core engaged, pull the tummy down, lift that pelvic floor, draw those ribs together. So we're definitely engaged. We're not just flopping here, moving our leg around. It's a deliberate movement. Let's change to a single leg stretch. Pull it in, straighten it out, pull it in. Oh gosh, I've got foot cramps. That's nice, isn't it? just what we need. Straighten and in. Straighten and in. Everything is the same, except we're now involving the knee joint. And let's go into the other side. So, back leg, tabletop, toe tap, and lift. You can see that none of the rest of my body is moving around. I'm isolating that left hip joint. I'm trying to keep my neck and jaw relaxed and my shoulders melted down into the floor. And let's change now to a single leg stretch. Pull it in, extend, pull it in, extend, pull it in. 3 more times. 3, 2, and 1. Nice. Placing both feet down on the ground. So let's take the feet, the knees, the ankles and the knees together. I'm going to take my hands just to the outside of my mat, and I'm going to twist gently side to side. So for the moment, I'm keeping my feet on the floor. So it's nice and safe, even if you have a bit of a sore back. And we'll keep the knees and ankles squeezing, and hopefully the legs are not gliding past each other. If you feel like they're gliding past each other, you just have to lift this hip up just a little bit more. Squeeze a little bit tighter. And let's come back to center. So you can continue with keeping the feet on the floor, or if you want to try with the legs up, we press that lower back into the floor, one leg into tabletop, then the other, and we squeeze the knees here. It's really important to keep that lower back driving into the floor. The last thing we want is this situation when we have our legs up. Arms out to the side, squeeze those knees, small spine twist. Inhale over, and exhale back to center. Don't feel like you have to do a massive range here. It's just whatever you're up for today and how you're feeling, because we all feel different every single day. Inhale over, exhale back to center. Inhale over, exhale back to center. While we're doing these, it's important to just give yourself a break sometimes and not take yourself too seriously, so that if you don't do everything perfectly every time, it's perfectly okay. Nobody is perfect. The only workout you regret is the one you didn't do. So the fact that you've taken the time for yourself today is the best thing about this whole experience. Okay, last little exercise for our abdominals here. Make sure that lower back is driving down into the floor. We're going to take the hands behind the head. We're going to lift up, pulling that tummy down, and we're going to do those toe taps, but we're going to alternate our legs. Don't mind my feet, I've got foot cramps, so I'm just doing that, but that is not part of the exercise. Drawing that tummy down, keeping the head gently supported. Lift a little higher. At any time, place one foot down and just do a single leg. 3, 2, and 1. One foot down, the other foot down, releasing down to the mat. Good. Let's spin over onto our side. We're going to join the knees up, one on top of the other. The hips will be stacked vertically, and we want to just slide our hands underneath our ribs here. Give them a little lift so we're not slouching down into the floor, and making sure our core is engaged. This hand can be on our hip or on the floor in front. We're going to squeeze our heels, open the knee, lower. So I want you to use this hand to make sure that your pelvis is not moving around too much. So obviously our hip joint is moving, but our pelvis is not rolling back like so. Keeping the ribs up, squeezing the heels. We're working on glute med. This muscle here, you can stick your thumb into it Feel it moving. Feel it working. Let's try with the ankles a little bit higher. So it's the same idea. We won't do too many because we've got to do the other side. And this class is just a quick intro for ultimate beginners or for everyone just wanting to go back to basics. And something you can do in your lunch break or before work. Let's lower the heels down. So we're going to swing around to the other side. Lying down, setup is the same. We want the hip joints stacked vertically, the knees together, the ribs lifted, our heels squeezing together, and exhale, we open, inhale, we lower. Exhale, open, inhale, lower. And we're not going to give ourselves a hard time if we don't have a massive range in our hip joint here. We just want to be careful we're not rolling back. Squeeze those heels, exhale, open, inhale, lower. Exhale, open, inhale, lower. All right, we're gonna lift those heels up a little higher. Same exercise. That's away. We're nearly done, almost at the end. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Lower those heels. So we're going to spin over onto our tummy. We're just going to take the hands underneath the shoulders, resting the forehead on the floor. To find our neutral while we're lying flat, pressing that pubic bone into the mat, we want to lengthen out our spine, pulling the tummy in and set those shoulders back. So we're going to use the floor for a little bit of assistance, and we're just going to lift our back to about there and lowering down. So we're sort of focusing on upper back, and I want you to feel like you're sliding your hands down towards the bottom of the mat. Keeping that pubic bone pressing into the floor. See how it helps to flatten out my back. If I let it go, it would look like this, and I'd be in all sorts of weird positions here. Pubic bone into the floor. If you're feeling good, you can now press into the floor with your hands. Maybe you only want to come to there, or maybe you can come a little bit higher, and we're just going to roll down. So back muscles first, back extensors first, then use the floor to get a bit of range. Lowering down. Keep that pubic bone pressing into the mat. Length through your vertebrae, especially those vertebrae in your lower back. Try not to crunch them. We don't want to be crunching anything. Okay, this will be the last one. And you're going to support your body as you sit up, bring the knees in, sit way back on those heels, tuck the chin, and enjoy this spine twist, a spine stretch. If it's too much for the shoulders here, you can tuck your hands back behind you towards your toes. And just resting the top of your head on the floor, enjoying the stretch. The last thing we're going to do is a quick plank. So let's shuffle down to the mat again, elbows on the mat. We're going to take our toes towards the back of the mat. So I don't want you in this position here. I never want to see that from anyone. We're going to press our pelvis forward. Make sure the toes are tucked at the back there. Pull your tummy in, just lifting one knee. Seeing how that feels, that might be enough for you. If you think you can, let's lift the other one. See how I'm squeezing my glutes? I'm pushing the floor away. I don't want my chest to sink down towards the floor. At any time, lower 1 or 2 knees to the mat. If you have your knees on the mat, really feel like you're wearing a corset wrapping around the middle of you, and it's pulling everything towards your spine, so we're really activated. You can just go in stages, maybe one knee at a time, and then maybe you can build up your strength in batches of 5 seconds or so. But if you can, hold with me for the next 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Knees down. Good. Let's support ourselves all the way back up. Let's give our shoulders a bit of a roll. And then we're going to stand all the way up. So my dog has just decided to join me for the very end of class. But to stand up, we're going to try with no hands on the floor. So we have our hands on our knees. We're going to come up like so. 1 foot forward and then straight up. And then we're going to finish the way we started. Both feet on the mat, standing up nice and tall. Big breath in. And then on your exhale, we're going to roll down. So we're going to use these exhales just as a bit of a gauge to see how far we've come from beginning of class till the end. You will excuse my dog, won't you? Nice big breath in and rolling down. She was being so good, but now she's here. And pulling the tummy in, rolling up, big breath in, and then last one. We want to feel all the difference from when we started until when we finished. And we're all done. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a great day and I'll see you on the mat again soon.